The fact that on January 6th, we had 140 cops, United States Capitol Police, get injured during the insurrection when they tried to overthrow the government. Beat them upside the head with lead pipes, spray them with pepper spray. The one video we saw, the cop got jammed into the door, right? J.D. Vance raised money for the legal defense fund of the insurrectionists. This is the kind of extremism, JD, that we wholly reject. You have video posts. Don't even try to deny it. We got your Twitter posts and everything else. Everybody's seen it. He said, help these guys with their legal defense fund. Now, can you imagine one guy saying out of one side of his mouth, he's pro-cop, and out of the other side of his mouth, he's raising money for the insurrectionists who were beating up the Capitol Police? The one guy he tried to raise money for got 4 years in prison. This is ridiculous. I'm not taking a back seat to you. I brought $500 million back to fund police in Ohio.
Now look, that message, like a lot of Tim Ryan's, is not targeted at leftists. It's not intended for me. He's talking about massive infusions of additional money going into the cops, which I think there are alternatives to that. But he is pointing out that if you are going to pretend to be super pro-cop, which JD Vance will, there's a little bit of a flaw in that argument when you enthusiastically support the people that see cops as an obstacle to the totalitarian dictatorship they want. And they're perfectly willing to murder those cops with guns, with their bare hands if necessary. JD Vance is a fan of that. And I like that Tim Ryan's pointing out him raising the money for the insurrectionists. That's sort of a damning thing to focus on. But in a general way, like, you don't need to focus on that. JD Vance does not care at all about the fact that they tried to commit a coup, basically. He doesn't care. And when they try again, he'll be an enthusiastic supporter of it. From the outside, if he loses, from the Senate floor, if he wins, that is horrifying. That is incredibly dangerous. We can't take that risk as a country. And so I'm glad, Ida, that he is pointing that out.
Yeah, I'm glad that he pointed it out and unapologetically, and was very, very, had the receipts. He was like, don't even bother to even try. I got the tweets. I have the receipts, as the youngins would say. I think that it's just it is important to point out hypocrisy within the parties. People who claim to love people, and I'm speaking of both parties. Like, you can't love black people and call yourself a Democrat and then be in support of policies that are harmful to black people. You can't be a Republican and say that you care about police officers and then fund the defense of people who tried to beat them to death. And I like I said, I may not agree with some people and their policies and their ideologies, but I'm gonna always respect someone who tries to lean towards what's right and what is, a person of their contract, a person of their word. How can you trust somebody who doesn't care about cops if you're a Republican when you lean so heavily on Blue Lives Matter? How could you trust someone who is negotiable in that way? Only loves cops so long as they are in line with what they want. People who cheat like that, they will cheat you. If you want to cheat, you want to overthrow the government because the government doesn't give you everything that you want and does everything that you want them to do, and you are willing to risk order, then what good could you do for any person in this community that is in a situation that is not as privileged as yours?
Yeah, it's not a new hypocrisy for the right, but it's always been a weird one. Yeah. And it's a weird thing where I feel like I've had to be, I don't know if offended is the right word, but like on behalf of cops and soldiers, trying to convince them, like, I get that, like, you're predisposed to like the right, but you know that when they fantasize about overthrowing the US government, you're the soldiers that they're fantasizing about killing. Like, as a cop, they like you while you're on their side. And if you're ever opposed to them, they will beat you to death with a Trump flag. Like, I shouldn't have to convince them that they should be offended by that. The very tenuous position that they hold, of like the tenuous position of support that they hold on the right, that's always been so weird to me. But anyway, no, continue.
Say quickly that from their elitist point of view, police officers are blue collar workers. They don't make a lot of money. They are here to do their dirty work and to maintain order and to keep people in line because they want to implement their policies, their laws, and the stuff that they're doing to keep everybody down so that they can keep getting rich and their kids being taken care of. So I dare to say sometimes that when cops get played, people are, of course, there's a police problem because there's a deep-seated issue within that, the psychology of what law enforcement is in this country, what the history of it and what it's rooted in. But the truth is, they don't matter to these people. These people look at them, that you are a nurse, you're a teacher, you're a firefighter, you are a blue collar worker that is here to do the service, and they don't want to have dinner with you. They don't want you marrying their daughters. They just want you to do the work that they sent you to do. So don't ever get it twisted in thinking that even though you may feel you've created your own power through violence and force, you don't matter to those people.
Yeah, beyond more than a symbol and potentially a tool of oppression. Remember how they treated all of those soldiers that came back in coffins from Iraq and Afghanistan.
Yep.
They supported the troops. They didn't care about them once they died. They didn't care about them once they had chronic illness and all that.
Check out the Damage Report podcast each day, wherever you get your podcasts, whether Pocket Casts or Stitcher or iTunes. You can join me as I give you the news and stories you want, with a range of co-hosts and interview guests jumping in on the fun each day. Again, that's the Damage Report, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get them at iTunes, don't forget to rate and review. Sometimes I'll read them live on the show.